Kia ora, my name is Chelsea Robinson. I am webcamming you today from Cuba Mall in Wellington City, where I live this year. I'm 18 years old and I'm currently studying at Victoria University in Wellington, where I'm studying an undergraduate degree in geography and environmental studies with a bit of environmental science, which I'm really loving. My most recent lecture was about the history of climate negotiations from Rio to Copenhagen and looking forward and looking at the New Zealand stance in these negotiations. So, really loving it. Um, I've grown up in Waitakere City, which is West Auckland. I went to school at Rutherford College where I was head girl in 2009, and I really loved my high school years. The big messages that I got out of high school was that effort is really what it's all about, and achievement, that comes with effort. So that's what I'm all about. Some things that I really love is music. I really feel music, and so I can play a fair few instruments. And the other thing I really, really resonate with is the outdoors. So this week I mountain biked up Macro Peak in Wellington. You might be familiar with it. And I've just come back from 2 days tramping in the Rumitaka Ranges. So if I look a bit tired, that's probably why. But it was a wicked time. I'm a member of the New Zealand Youth Delegation, and I have been for about a year now. Last year, I was a member of the 2009 delegation. That was 12 young people from around the country, same as this year, but different people, obviously, but same deal. Um, we were a group that started up based on a conversation that happened at the end of 2008 through Intersect, which is an online network of young professionals leading the change in sustainability in business. And it went from there and developed as some people in Auckland put their heads together and sorted out a selection process where an objective panel came together and decided on all these applicants from around the country and chose 12 people. So I was involved from that stage, and I got told this time last year, or a little bit before now, that I would be heading over to Copenhagen in December, which is really big because I was in high school, and the world seems quite big and scary when you're in high school still. Anyway, so I spent the rest of that year sort of nutting out Copenhagen and what that would mean to me and what that meant to young New Zealanders. And I acted as the media spokesperson and communications organizer for NZYD that year. So I did a lot of work with the newsletter and NZYD Facebook, etc., contacting newspapers. I did a couple of interviews with Radio New Zealand and did things like that. So that's what I've been up to. I found Copenhagen itself to be both disillusioning and uplifting. I found it to be disillusioning because it was a very confronting sort of experience where there were very real decisions being made affecting very real lives and lives that haven't been born yet, and it's often quite frightening because of you are aware of the extent, and you often can't even comprehend the extent of the impacts of those decisions. So in that sense, there was a lot riding on every single moment, which is quite a difficult sort of sensation to feel. And other than that, like the flip side of that is also that there's a really, really powerful chance for real change to take place. And so there was a lot of hope, and it was really hard to juggle those two feelings. So coming through that, I was really excited about being part of the group that this year took the time to craft the selection process for the next delegation to come through as we attend the negotiations that follow up from Copenhagen. They're going to take place in Cancun in Mexico this December, and we now have a crew of 12 young people who have gone through that same selection process. We had applicants from all over the country again, and now we've got 2 people in Otago, 1 in Christchurch, 3 in Wellington, 1 in Masterton, and then all the rest are lumped up in Auckland, I think. Yeah, all our Aucklanders. And we're working as a crew to advocate for strong action politically on climate change on behalf of the young people of New Zealand, who often don't really get a chance to be heard. And it is especially important to advocate for young people because it's their future that we're really grappling with, our future. One of the campaigns that we're focusing on in New Zealand Youth Delegation this year is the Fab Fern campaign. FAB stands for Fair, Ambitious and Binding, which is an international term used by NGOs in terms of what we're really hoping for out of negotiations, what kind of a treaty we want, or what kind of a text document we want to come out. So fair in terms of, fair for all, got equality in mind, and not being one-sided, developed versus developing world. Ambitious, so we're not resting on our laurels, we're not being complacent, and we're not doing less than we know we can, but we're really striving for strong emissions reduction targets. And binding, so it's not a document that can be thrown away, or promises that we can make and then avoid, but it's binding perhaps to a legal extent, and that means that countries can't skip out on the promises they make to each other. So that's a general idea of what we're really looking to get out of these texts that are being formed. And the Fab Firm campaign is all about getting young New Zealanders' input on what that text might look like. So the fern itself, what form this takes, is actually literally a fern, which will be an incredibly large banner. So it's going to be a fern on a black background with a white fern on it, with signatures from young people all over the country, with their handwritten messages as to what they are willing to do in their lives to reduce their negative environmental impacts and to enhance their interaction with our ecology. So that might be something like, I'm willing to have these conversations with people. I'm willing to compost. All these things, invite these things into our daily lives. And then also to have messages on it which explain, we want to see that you're willing to set the bar really high, so that also from the top-down approach, businesses can have some policies to lead them in the right direction too. So this fern is going to be of the dimension 10 meters by 6 meters. So if we just take that size in, 10 meters by 6, it's pretty big. So anyway, a fern's made of fronds, and our fern has 12 fronds, and each person in the delegation has a frond. So I have number 12, and other people around the country have different ones, and we're going to come together and put them all together and then take this really large banner over to Mexico. This is going to show our government that there is a real backing for strong climate policy, and also internationally that there is an international youth movement that is fighting for this, and that New Zealand is part of it. So as part of the Fab Fern campaign, if you want me or one of the other delegates to come to your school, community group, maybe your church youth group, and have a kōrero about climate change and how it's going to impact our lives, then definitely contact us. Just flick us an email on nzyouthdelegation@gmail.com, and we'll be in contact with you ASAP and make this happen. We'll come to your part of the country, or we'll get someone near to you to come and have a talk to you, and then we'll talk about climate change in our lives and having global empathy for people who are facing really drastic climate effects already. So even though in New Zealand we may not be feeling it right now, it's still going to hit us one day, and we actually have the chance right now to make the changes to prevent them from being catastrophic. So it's really important that we have these conversations, and especially with young people, as we're probably going to have these conversations for the rest of our lives. So let's start today. Goodbye for now. Have a wonderful week. Ka kite.